All right, aloha, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our ACTIVZ English Speaking Schools here on this beautiful eve of Mother's Day. Every day should be Mother's Day, but on the eve of Mother's Day, we have some great presenters who are also mothers in their own right and have not only raised their children to be outstanding young youth and gentlemen in their own rights, but also have been raising and helping nourish their business here at ACTIVZ. And so we are so grateful for our presenters that's going to be presenting today. But before I go ahead and turn the time over to Colton Smith, who will be introducing our first speaker, I do want to shout out to everyone for waking up early this morning. That includes our CEO, David Brown, joining us, as well as our COO, Angie Hawthorne. Knowing that we have corporate executive staffs early morning, willing to wake up with you and learn from the people who are the heartbeat of our business, which is you, our distributors and our leaders, is very comforting and means a lot to know that we are here for you. Whether we're listening and learning, whether we're planning and directing the affairs to make you as successful as you can, I hope that everyone feels assured that ACTIVZ is your business. It is our business, and it is something that is evolving year after year, going on our seventh year. And so these active schools, being able to learn and listen, and what we can do to be successful in any part of the world, whether it's in Chihuahua, Mexico, in Texas, in Illinois, even here in Hawaii. It's great to hear. So thank you once again for everyone for joining us on this lovely Saturday morning, wherever you are. And without further ado, I will turn the time over to Colton Smith, who will be introducing one of my favorite people here at ACTIVZ and our first speaker.
Awesome. Thank you, Stu. And also one of my favorite people that I get to introduce here at ACTIVZ as well. I'm just kidding. We love all of you guys. You guys are all absolutely incredible. But the person I have an opportunity to introduce this morning is someone that I've known for years, absolute years, and is an incredible trainer, incredible person. And first and foremost, again, I also just want to echo the sentiment. Happy Mother's Day to all of you who celebrate the wonderful holiday, whether it's the day tomorrow or the entire month. This is absolutely probably the best time of the year. And just I want to do that again, just to remind all of the husbands out there, just final reminder, we tend to forget a lot, so Mother's Day is tomorrow. Just take that away from this call. And if you need to pause the video for a second or just run over to Costco or wherever it is you're going to go get your flowers, just do it now. Make sure you make a note now. But the individual I have an opportunity to introduce today is absolutely incredible. She is from Merida, Yucatan, Mexico, born and raised there in Merida. I was actually in her stomping grounds out there in Merida just a couple months ago. It's absolutely beautiful. Claudina, they took me to, I think it was Prospero, to the playa. They took me to the beach out there. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful part of the world. Later moved to the United States, settled in Sacramento, California, began studying psychology and actually got her master's degree in international business, became a successful HR director, but made the decision a number of years ago to put a little bit more focus on her family and try to find something that could give her the opportunity to work, generate an income, as well as spend time with her family, which I'm sure resonates and sounds like something that a lot of you probably have heard before. Maybe a lot of you have aspired to have. And this is someone that went ahead and took that decision and found themselves in the industry of network marketing, specifically settled here at ACTIVZ, began working here in 2017, and in the 6.5 years since has helped thousands upon thousands of people and families obtain their own financial freedom, found their own solutions for health, and has done absolutely incredible work in that period of years. This is someone, again, that I've been able to work with now for many years, an absolutely incredible trainer in person. And I think she kind of puts it best as to what drives her to build here at Actives. And she says, my passion lies in enhancing health and aiding others in realizing their full physical, personal, and economic potential while prioritizing their loved ones. You got to work hard, but you also got to spend time with the ones that you love most, your family, and take care of them. An absolutely incredible person and leader here at Actives A13. Please help me welcome to the call our very own Claudina Brenneman. Claudina, the floor is yours. Go ahead and take it away.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Colton. Thank you so much for that introduction. I'm honored to be asked to be here and share with you a little bit. Today, I'm going to change it a little bit. Normally, I talk about, more like operational things, how to rank advanced, like all that stuff. It's fun. I love qualifying for Club 500s. I love going to all the incentive trips. I just came back from Cancun and it was incredible. I took both of my daughters. My husband couldn't make it because he's still an employee, and that's okay. I love him the way he is, but we have freedom and time and opportunities. And that's why I took the girls to Cancun. It was incredible. But today I'm going to switch it up a little bit and we're going to dig a little deep, and hopefully I can find my presentation. Where are you? Hold on a second. Hold on, share screen. Okay. It's coming. Let me find it. Tell me if you find the one that says eliminating limiting beliefs. Do you see it? Okay, good. Yay. All right. Well, today we're going to talk about personal development, a little bit different than what I explained or talked about before. And we all were born into different settings and families. Mine was from Mexico, was very conservative, Catholics, you have to do this. And when we were born, we're like a white page and it's all blank, and they start putting in all this things that may be us or not, but we start believing everything that they put in. As an adult, we have the responsibility of recognizing where those limiting beliefs come from and why do they stay, right? So that's what we're going to talk about today. And I'm going to share with you 5 steps to overcome limiting beliefs. And I know we all have them. Even the A16s have to work on things inside of them, right? So no matter your rank, we all have those beliefs. Now, the point number 1, or the step number 1, is to be conscious about what is optional in our lives and what is non-negotiable. Because a lot of things that are non-negotiable, we treat them as optional, right? And successful people know how to recognize those two and know when to burn their boats, right? When they commit fully of a course of action and there is no possibility of turning back, you make better decisions, right? Because, for example, if we want to lose weight, right, and we have the conviction of losing weight versus the convenience of eating an apple strudel. I love apple anything. I love it. So, but when you're committing to being healthy, right, what do you go for? Do you go for your conviction or you go for your convenience? So when we don't know how to identify those, then we got into trouble, right? Because then we cannot achieve what we want to achieve. So for me and for you today, I want you to be conscious and maybe make a list of the things that are non-negotiable in your life. That may be time with your family, which is not going to be all the time in the world, right? You're going to have a specific time for that, which is going to be when you're going to be working your business. And what is non-negotiable? Your 5 calls a day, right? Your follow-ups, your presentations, your training, your personal development, your religion, right? That's non-negotiable. And what is going to be optional in your life? Maybe watching Netflix, watching the game, going to the movies. Those things are kind of optional, but a lot of times we put them as non-negotiable, and that's what's not okay, right? So then we're going to go to step number 2. And I know everyone tells you don't quit. And that's my recommendation for everyone. The key of the success that I've had is being that I haven't quit, no matter what came in my life. Now, you do need to quit on certain things, because when you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else, right? We all have 24 hours a day. We all have one mouth, two eyes, two ears. So we cannot sometimes, say yes to everything. We have to learn how to say no to things and invest our time and activities in things that generate the most value and money for ourselves, right? And you know exactly what those are. Exercise, your spiritually, whatever your religion or non-religion, but maybe meditation or whatever that is, right? How you work your business, how to have balance in your life, and learn how to delegate. I remember when we moved to Mexico, because thank you, ACTIVZ, when I was able to retire my husband temporarily, and we moved to Mexico for 2 years. I lived in Merida, my hometown, with my girls, and so they could perfect their Spanish, and my husband to learn even more bad words that he knows in Spanish, right? When we came back to United States, when we lived in Mexico, we had help, right? And when we came back to the United States, we're just the four of us, and everyone thought we were still living in that life of having help. And my husband and I were picking everything, cooking, and doing everything around the house. And we found that we needed to delegate, right? We needed the girls to have their list of chores, us to have our list of chores, and that way the house could function in a better way. So don't forget, you have the capacity to also delegate some of those activities that are maybe taking time of your non-productive, right? Or taking time of maybe away from your business or whatever. So what is it today that you're going to give up? I'm sorry, I don't have my little question mark. For some reason, it looks like an X, but that means a question mark. Okay. So what are you going to give up, right, in your life? Because I am ready to give up maybe my sense of inferiority, procrastination, being a victim, right? What are you quitting? What are you giving up? Because you cannot have it all. Step number 3, in order to grow, you must sink your roots deep, just like a tree, right? And I love how David Brown in many scenarios has talked about the trees and the roots and how they stay together and stay strong underground, and they grab the roots, right? That's what we're doing here at ACTIVZ. That's the reason you're here today. And that's the reason David Brown is here, Angie Hawthorne, and all of our corporate team are here, because we're literally growing those roots deep and holding each other underground. And there is a definition between self-esteem and self-confidence, and we need both to be strong in this business. Now, there's a difference between the two. Self-esteem is the constant evolution of our emotional intelligence, personal stability, and self-acceptance. Is right inside of us, right? So just you and only you know about your self-esteem. Now, self-confidence is how you feel about your abilities and your skills that are also very important in this business, right? But they're not the same. So if you are feeling need of internal validation, right, then you probably need to work on your self-esteem. If you need external validation, people to tell you, you're doing great, this and that, then you need to work on your self-confidence, right? We both need both of them. Now, there's going to be times where it's not if, it's when things are not going to work out in your business, in your life, in your family, etc. And that's when you really need to hold on to those strong roots, right? And that's the reason we need to better ourselves, right? Don't ask for easier things. Ask for you to become better, to be able to deal with those situations. And you cannot sow seeds without preparing the ground. Here at ACTIVZ, and you as a leader, you got to prepare that ground, right? You got to feel strong in your self-esteem. You have to work in your skills and your abilities to be able to rip those seeds, right? Those really plant in that ground for things to grow. Step number 4 is forgive, and this one sometimes hurts. Forgive to set yourself free. A lot of times we are filled with regret, we're filled with guilt, anger, and we got to forgive to give space for the future. And I don't talk about the future in the next 5 years. I'm talking about a near future, right? To receive the joy, to receive success, to receive happiness, to receive new people in your team and the blessings that ACTIVZ has for us. You got to release that jar of resentments, right? Who do you need to forgive that you maybe haven't, that is maybe holding you back? Because forgiveness does not mean minimizing the pain or the person that is causing it or caused it in the past, right? It's only create that space for what you really want in this year and in your life. Because there are people that are waiting for you, to join your team, to be part of your dream, right? But we got to work on those things. What is your jar today filled with? And you know what? I know that's hard because we have had situations, right, that are painful in our past. And sometimes we're holding on to that, right? But it doesn't matter whatever happened, right? Whatever happened, made us who we are today. But we got to forgive to set ourselves free. And why is this not going? I have one more thing. Recognize that everything that you have created and accomplished today has been with the resources available that have been up to you to this point, right? Whatever the way you are, whatever rank you are today, you have used those resources. Maybe we need to get new resources. Maybe we need to get more action. Maybe we need to, right, start implementing some of those personal developments to be able to achieve more. Now, point number 5, fail forward. And I love failing forward, is because fail, if we look at that word, is first attempt in learning, just like babies when they first start learning how to walk. I mean, I don't know about you, but I didn't have experience in network marketing, and I really knew that I needed to learn everything. I remember carrying my little blueprint in my purse, and every time I was in my kids' class or I had a moment, I was reading it because I was so thirsty of learning, because I knew I needed to learn a lot. No matter how successful I was as a human resources director, this was a different thing, was a different animal. It required more of me. It required me to grow more as a person. So failing forward is the willingness to fail, right? And I love Lisa Nichols, and I got that from her. The willingness to fail is the willingness to fly. You cannot fly without failing, right? Just like a baby cannot learn how to walk without falling. We avoid so many opportunities in our lives to fly because we're in fear of failure. And our brain, right, works in a very survival mode, our reptile brain, right? We have to understand the reasons why we don't get out of our comfort zone. It's because it's in our DNA that we gotta survive in this world, right? So your brain is gonna tell you not to, right? But when you're trained to recognize that that is a limiting belief and that you can, because you need to be able to say yes to things that are going to take you out of that comfort zone, then that's when you start to grow. And growth requires failed experiences. This one I love, and Lisa Nichols says, you can't hate the teacher and appreciate the lesson. You have to thank both, right? And this could be maybe a bad relationship that you had in the past. Maybe this is something that has to do with a distributor that, you know, damaged your business, damaged your reputation, or didn't work out, right? So there are so many experiences in our lives, or a bad business that you did and didn't work out, right? We have to thank that teacher and thank that lesson, because that's the only way we learn and we grow. And failure obviously doesn't mean that you're a failure. You fail at something, but you learn and you grow. And that's how you commit to flying, right? To be the better version of yourself. What would you do today? That's a question that I have for you. If you knew that failure was not an option, who would you be calling today if you knew you were going to get a yes? Who? I know you're thinking about someone that you haven't called, right? If you write it down right now, would you be calling it right after we finish this active school? And we're leading towards the end. There are two ingredients of a true realization, right? And maybe you have experienced that in these presentations, because there is a difference between a discovery versus a true realization of something. Maybe you just now realize what is holding you back. And there are two ingredients or two steps for that, right? First, there is an irritation. It bugs you. There's a conflict between what you want, which is maybe getting to that next trip, deluxe in Cancun. Maybe it's rank advancing, right? Maybe it's your team to grow, right? Because you want those leaders to get to the next rank, right? And at the same time, there's a conflict between the desire, but also the doubts, right? The limitations that you're feeling that you have that are only in your head. Well, the step number 2 is surrendered action. You need to surrender and really get into action. We have to surrender to something bigger than ourselves. Sometimes it only requires for you to be able to maybe hit that Club 500, because once you do it once, then you know you can do it twice, 3 times, 4 times. Maybe you have to just get to that trip deluxe, because once you get to the first one, trust me, it's almost, for me, it was a switch. It's something that clicked, right? And I'm like, okay, now I can do it. And then automatically every single trip I'm there, and my kids are involved, because I can not go, right? Or I can pay for it. Yes, of course. But my kids are watching, and now they like the trips and they want to go. So now it's double the effort that I have to put, because if I say I don't go, whatever, but for my kids, that's not going to happen. I got to take them. We cannot change our reality until we change our capacity. And I love that line from Lisa Nichols. Personal growth is not accumulating information that maybe we're getting today, but really applying it into our lives, right? It is more about unlearning all that old information and limiting beliefs that of our family put us in our head and that are dragging us, right? Like we're almost dragging this big weight in ourselves that doesn't let us fly, right? And learning and applying the new you, because there is a new you inside of you. We all started with a lot of baggage, and trust me, when you start learning and growing, all of that start becoming way more light. Sometimes we commit to our limiting beliefs more than the new possibilities, because that's our comfort zone. That's what we know. Even though it's uncomfortable, it's still comfortable because it's still there. It's just not, it's just better. It's safer. Nobody teaches us how to overcome rejections and failures and understand how our mind and behavior work. And that's what I thought it was important to talk about this. I want to thank you for being here. I love Lisa Nichols. I got a lot of information from her, and I love the line that she has. We cannot change our reality until we change our capacity. Thank you very much. And I'll turn the microphone to you, Colton. Thanks.
Absolutely incredible. Round of applause, please, for Claudina. That was amazing. I was sitting there just taking notes and over again. And I know a lot of you are probably thinking about how this applies to you and your ACTIVZ business. For some reason, my brain, as you were talking about, all this, how we tend to limit ourselves and think we can't do it. And we're, willingness to fail is, willingness to fly. I was just thinking about how, I actually recently signed up for a half marathon after having, I've never run one ever in my life. I hate running more than anything else on earth. There's nothing I despise more. I've always been that way. You know, I played sports, but my least favorite part of the sport is the running. But randomly, just I had a bunch of friends, and they were just talking about how we should do it, and I was saying all the reasons why we're not going to do it, and it's ridiculous, and none of us have ever done it. And next thing I know, I'm spending $100 to sign up for a marathon, a half marathon in 4 months. And all I'm doing is sitting there going, like, how am I gonna get this done? What do I gotta do? How do I get into that mindset? And so much of what you were just talking about as I'm reading my notes, I'm like, you know what, Claudia? I think Claudia was talking directly to me. So
Yay.
in September of this year, guys, I'm gonna give you a recap, and I'm gonna apply exactly what Claudina just said. You know, you can listen to all this sort of stuff, but you don't grow. You can't just accumulate the information. You got to apply it. You got to put it into practice. And so I'm looking forward to doing that. And Claudina, thank you so much for sharing with us this morning. Absolutely incredible. One more round of applause for Claudina. That was absolutely awesome. And with that said, Stu, I'm going to go ahead and turn the time over to you.
All right. Thanks so much, Colton. And also, thanks so much, Claudina. That was amazing. It was like 5 o'clock in the morning here. So that I don't fall asleep, I typed everything that you had up there. But it is amazing of what you did. And, one of my favorite lines actually was you can't hate the teacher and you got to appreciate the lesson. I think I speak for a lot of people, especially Colton as well. We like sports and we have a lot of coaches and teachers that we kind of disliked at that time. Why are you yelling at me and all these kinds of things? But the lessons that we have learned from each and every one of them has helped me thus far in my life. And so thank you for that. Just like Claudina, our next presenter is one that has a great mind, studied business in college, and she'll get pretty embarrassed when I do say that she also sang in the opera while she was in college. And so a lot of people don't know that about her. She has been a part of the ACTIVZ family since its inception, much like Claudina. She comes from a background of business. Her and her husband started a telecommunication company and been working that for about 17 years. They were part owners of a very successful telecommunications company in which they later sold and actually wanted to be in business for themselves. Traditionally, both of them have been entrepreneurship minded. They like um, the thought of doing different things, getting away from your typical traditional business, to not only challenge themselves, but to create a legacy that is lasting for not only themselves, but for their kids and for generations to come. Um, our speaker that I'm talking about is Karen Toth, and her husband, Ed, have been outstanding leaders ever since we started. ACTIVZ. They've been, like I just previously said, at the start and help with a lot of the things that have made ACTIVZ what it is today. They have actually been sidetracked a little bit. I know that Karen's son, Justin, is a college athlete, and she has been taking on the traditional role of mothers, cheering her son, following her son, encouraging her son. And so, all of those things she got busy doing. And so her presentation is actually relating to sports on getting back in the game. And so I know that she gets embarrassed when we talk about her a lot, especially when we talk about, things like, she's singing the opera. She's always willing, however, to talk about her son and his very successful high school career. And also now he has a great college career. But more importantly, she loves helping others. She loves cheering on the ACTIVZ family, and she loves each and every one of you. And because of that, she is willing to be one of our presenters today. So without further ado, I will have Angie play her presentation.
Thank you for that amazing introduction. I'm not sure I'm worthy of those kudos, but I will take them anyway, and I will appreciate them. So my name is Karen Toth, and I am an A10 distributor with ACTIVZ Global. And as a matter of fact, I'm probably the very first U.S. distributor for this amazing company. That means I have been around for a long time. Well, you might be scratching your head going, well, how come I've never heard of Karen Toth? How come I've never seen this woman? Well, let me tell you, that's the topic we're going to talk about today, getting back into the game. So the first thing I want to ask you is, do you have your ACTIVZ activation kit? You know, we came out with a new one in January, and if you don't have it, you need to go immediately into your back office and order it after this conference call. Within that activation kit, there is an amazing new book called the ACTIVZ Success Guide. And this guide is what we're going to be using to get ourselves back into the game. So let's get started. So let me tell you a little bit about myself in this amazing company. So in December of 2017, I joined ACTIVZ, and in June of 2017, I met David Brown, and I was there when David and Ryan came together to create this amazing company. It launched in December of 2017 in Mexico, and I had to sit there and wait until it came to the US. I didn't really have any contacts internationally. So I waited, and I waited. I bugged the heck out of the corporate team, and I waited, and then bam, it opened in the US. And I was that girl. I was that girl that was ignorance on fire, and I just started to run. In my first 2 weeks, I personally sponsored 45 new distributors. My business was on fire, and I just couldn't wait until I became the very first A16, which, by the way, didn't happen, obviously. So what did happen? Well, all sorts of things. As I contacted more and more people, I turned out to be getting more no's than I got yeses. Then, everyday life came into effect, right? And all the unusual circumstances that come with it. And boom, I took that hit. And then, I just started letting the negative talk get into my head. Okay, you can't do this. Obviously, this isn't for you. All right, it's time to move on. So, I became the ACTIVZ wallflower. I never quit, but I did sit down and just kept doing nothing. Yep, you heard me right. Nothing. How many of you have been out there and you've felt that same way? Me? Yep. And I can honestly say I've been doing it I've been doing nothing for several years. Now, I do want to tell you that it's been really amazing because as I sat here doing nothing, over those several years, people kept reaching out to me from ACTIVZ, just checking in on me, asking me how I was doing. They never gave up on me. And so you know what? It's now time for me and whoever else is sitting there doing nothing to get back into the game. Now, this talk is not just about getting back in the game for us old people or the ones that haven't done anything for a while. This is also for every one of you that is brand new. You are brand new and we are starting over. So let's do this together. All right, so if you have one, grab your ACTIVZ Success Guide and let's get started. Because today we're embarking on a journey of self-discovery, goal setting, and network building extravaganzas. This is going to be a great ride, which I hopefully will be equal amounts of fun and information. Now, let me just say, this success guide is packed with information, so we absolutely can't go through all of it today, but we are going to go through how to get started, steps 1 through 4. So, let's begin. So the first step you're going to do is we're going to define our why and develop our story. So today we're embarking on a journey of self-discovery, goal setting, and a network building extravaganza. Hopefully this ride today is going to be both fun and informative. And to get us started, you need to grab your success guide. It's going to be you, me, and this guide conquering the world today. So let's get started. Oh, before we get started, let me tell you, this guide is full of all sorts of great information. So much information that we can't go through it all today. But we are going to go through steps 1 through 4 that will get you to where you need to be to run with this amazing company. Also, we only have a short amount of time, and plus, you need to get out of here and start working your business. So, let's get started. All right, so the first one we want to work on is, the very first thing you want to do is step 1. Define your why and develop your story. Now, what's your why? Well, let's face it, your why is, why are you doing this business? Okay? This business is pretty simple, but it definitely isn't easy. So why are you doing this business? What lights that fire in your belly? What makes your gears grinding every morning to get up and get your coffee and get going with the day of ACTIVZ? Well, that's what I want to know. And that's what you definitely need to know before you move forward. Because your why is the most important thing that's going to drive you in making sure that your business is successful. Now, as I said, you might need to grab your coffee and ponder some questions in order to discover what your why is. And that's okay. This is a journey to get you to where you need to be in order to be successful. So, if you sit down, get your pen and paper, and start writing out some questions and some answers. Now, if you need some help in where to find those, you just go to page 4 in your success guide, and it'll tell you how to think about why you are here. Now, it's time for you to tell your story. Not just any story, but your story and how you came to ACTIVZ Global. So just a moment ago, we talked about your why. You need to include that in your story. You need to tell us about how you got here. What was your journey? What's been your victories? What's been your epic fails? Okay, I don't think anyone has epic fails. They have learning experiences, but you need to include those too, because all of us have them, and all of us will identify with them. The main thing you need to include is your why. So take that why you just wrote and build on it and create a story that you can tell somebody that will get them interested in you. And as a byproduct, ACTIVZ in our product. So get your paper and pen, take a few moments, and write that down. Now, it may change, and you may have to change it several times, but that's okay. We want to hear you. And if you need some hints on where and how to decide what to put into your story, that's okay. All you need to do is go to page 5 and do your ACTIVZ success, and it'll help prompt you through it. There's some ticklers in there that might give you some imagination on your story. All right, step number 2, let's write some goals. So now, we are talking goals, baby. Really, really important goals. And what do I mean? Well, I mean, we're talking about SMART goals, right? S-M-A-R-T. SMART. Okay, maybe not Einstein level smart, but we're talking pretty cool. So let's define what those are. All right, so S is for specific goals. M is for measurable. A, attainable. R, realistic. And T, trackable. All 5 of those assets are needed in setting your goals for being successful in the ACTIVZ business. It's also important that these goals are activity activated and not results oriented, because you can't control the results, but you can control your daily activity. And so if you can track something and you can track your activity, then you're more successful in seeing how you are growing in your ACTIVZ business. You need to include both short-term and long-term goals, and your short-term goals are going to be the things that you do on a daily basis. Every day you want to be consistent in doing whatever goals that you have set for your daily activity. Now, you also want to look at long-term goals. These are the major successes that you want to accomplish to achieve your A16 status in ACTIVZ. And all those goals are going to be determined by you and your why. They may be different and probably are going to be much different than my goals. But we do have a duplicatable system that we're going to talk about in just a minute that all of us can utilize to work our business. So if you want to set goals and you don't know how to get started, well, where am I going to tell you to go? Right here on page 6. Now, as you write your goals, I'm telling you, you be you, and you write down what you want to accomplish. And it might be related to your family or getting out of your job, but make sure it's specific and measurable and attainable and realistic and trackable. All right, number 3. You've heard it over and over again. You've used it in every single thing that you've probably done, from creating a party to creating your graduation list to working in other businesses, and that is create your database list, right? Who is important to you to invite to see the ACTIVZ business and share the ACTIVZ products, right? Well, of course, if you're like me, you're going to say, everyone should be experiencing both the business and the products that we have. Well, yes, I'm going to agree with you. We need to hit everybody in the world, but that's not realistic when you're coming out of the gate and when you're getting started. So let's backtrack and put into a simpler term and easier way to do this. And how is that? Well, I like to call it a little game of who's who in your life. And what does that mean? Well, it means for you to be a detective on a mission and play the best networking game that you've ever played. And how do you do that? Well, let's start with the closest thing to you. Let's start with your contact lists, the groups that you go to, anything that you participate in, looking at your social media, and let's start making a list of maybe, 100 people that you feel like you could reach out to and talk to about ACTIVZ and ACTIVZ products, right? At first, most of us will go to our family, our friends, and our closest acquaintances, right? Some people don't feel comfortable doing that, and they'd rather go to business associates or new acquaintances, and that's fine too. Either one will work. You do you, boo. You do whatever is comfortable for you. But again, there is a duplicated system that we're going to talk about in a minute that will work for all avenues of creating your database list. And hey, don't forget about anyone else that you come in contact. I'm telling you to go with what you have in front of you right now. But every day you are probably meeting new people, and it could be from 1 to 20. Make sure you put them on your list, right? Because you just met them. And this might be something that you can introduce to them to create a new potential business game changer for both you and them. And you might have found your next BFF. Your next business forever friend. All right, so get that list together. And that list will continue to grow every day. And you should be continuing to connect with that list every day. And so you can find a way to build that list in the back of your success guide. There's some pages in there to help you with that. And then if you want to find some more resource for this topic, it's on page 7. All right, last but not least, in our first 4 steps of this amazing journal is contact and invite. So drum roll, please. It's showtime, folks. It's time to take the why, your story, and connect them with your database and tell them how great it is that you are living an ACTIVZ life. Each day, you want to set a goal to talk to at least 10 to 15 people. And again, you want to focus on this activity, not the outcome. You want to invite 10 to 15 people to check out ACTIVZ, whether it's ACTIVZ products or ACTIVZ business. No matter if it's rain, sleet, snow, or whatever, you get your invitations out on a daily basis. Consistency, consistency, consistency is what you are going to stand on in order to be successful in your ACTIVZ business. Now, the first invite I know is going to be a little scary because, of course, you always think they're going to say no. But you know what? Every no brings you one step closer to a yes. So get out of that comfort zone and pick up the phone and make that one first invite. Now, you might want to make it to your mom or your brother or your sister, somebody that you know is going to be a safe call, and you can practice on them, right? They love you no matter what. So maybe that's the easiest way for you to start. But start. That's the key to this. And then I promise you, after every invite, it's going to get a little bit easier. You're going to know your market a little bit better. You're going to hone in on your storytelling. And you know what? You are going to be amazing. And not only amazing, but you are going to be the rock star, the next rock star in ACTIVZ. And I'm going to join you there because I myself am getting back into the game. So, last but not least, folks, I want to tell you, make sure you treat this business like a hot date. Okay, yeah, I said it, a hot date. And what does that mean? Well, that means you need a plan, you need to organize, and you need to show up with bells on. You need to be personable and professional. And don't worry, that comes with a lot of practice. We've all been through it. We've all gone through the starts and the stops. And it's time for you and I to get going. So I'm going to grab my calendar, which, guess what, is also in the success guide. And I'm going to start calling people, and I'm going to put those appointments on my calendar. And you and I are going to slay the world, the ACTIVZ world, like the bosses we are, right? We are the bosses. Oh, one more thing. Remember, ACTIVZ is just about the destination to be successful and to reach all of your goals and dreams. But it doesn't have to be boring. Make sure you have fun. Make sure you are a little crazy and enjoy the ride. It's an exhilarating journey. So, one more time, let's both go forth, reaching for our dreams, and let's make ACTIVZ history. I want to see you racing to the A16, the top of ACTIVZ Global. Well, that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed this call, and I hope you learned some things, because I'm learning them every day. And I'm going to be joining you on this ACTIVZ adventure. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Karen. That was fun to watch. For those who had or have the opportunity to meet Karen and even her husband, Ed, they're just joyful, fun people. They do think differently, and that's what makes them fun. But as you could As you listen to Karen's presentation, it was back to simple fundamentals, simple principles that Ryan Thompson always talks about as well, was a success guide. Whether you're playing pee-wee football or youth basketball and you watching the NBA players, whenever they start warming up, they form two lines on each side and do their layups. And then from there, they build to their shots from different spots. But no matter what level of play, getting back into the game requires just the basic fundamentals. And so hearing what Karen talked about today is so comforting, because this business is not difficult if we just stick to the success guide, and just do what she said, is developing our why and our story, creating our database lists, contacting and inviting. You do that, I promise you, you will be successful and be able to be back in the game and actually win all the things that you want to win and accomplish in your life. And one of those will be becoming an A16, becoming like our Claudinas, our Noemis, our Christina, our Martines, all those successful people that we get to learn and hear from. And so we cannot wait to see you at the top, as Karen pointed out. We do have a hot date on hand here at our ACTIVZ School, and that is our CEO, David Brown, who I have the fortunate honor, I guess, to turn the time to introduce our closing speaker. And then after them, he will be able to give his closing remarks. He's so hot, he burns his hair off on a daily basis. That's why he looks what he looks right now. But nonetheless, he is someone who I admire. And I will turn the time over to our CEO, David Brown.
Thanks, Stu. I have to admit, it's not quite the compliment being told you're hot by Stu as maybe by someone else, but hey, I'll take it. It's fine. It's good morning. It's great to be with you all. We've had some great instructions so far, and I think on Mother's Day Eve, can't you tell that both Claudina and Karen are great moms? Because the advice that they're giving you is also advice that you'd give your kids, to hang in there and follow the right instructions and do those things. So it was just awesome. Well, our next speakers are people that you've heard from before, and you might say that we've seen them a lot more frequently, and that's true. It's Dr. Joe Maroon and Jeff Boast, his assistant and a professor, and they've been part of ACTIVZ now for, wow, Angie, probably 5 or 6 years, I think. I don't know exactly how long it's been, but I'll tell you something. Maybe their experience is a little like yours. They first joined us because they liked what we were doing. They looked at the science and thought, this is great. They had specific experience and understanding of butyric acid and turmeric, for example. Didn't know too much about Nerf2 and things like that. But what's happened and what's been amazing to me to witness is over the last 5 or 6 years that they've been with us, the more they've gotten into the science, the more they've seen the benefits of the products, both in their own lives and lives of others. And then finally, the more opportunity that they've had to get out and meet all of you, the more excited they've been about being part of ACTIVZ. And so now, it used to be a little bit more difficult to get them on the schedule. Now they're asking me all the time, hey, when do you want us to speak next? And when do you want to do this? And it's great to have, Dr. Maroon, who's a world-renowned neurosurgeon, still a professor and doctor at the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center. He is, as you know, the team doctor for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's a vice president at the Association of Anti-Aging Medicine. He was the medical director of the WWE Wrestling Association, but he is no longer, because his colleague, Jeff Boast, is now the medical director of WWE. And so we're really pleased to have people that are with us because they want to be, because they share our vision about the products and the health and the good things that ordinary people just like us can do every day. So we'll go ahead and tee them up and listen to their presentation and thank them for being with us today.
Hello, my name's Jeff Boast. I'm a consultant to ACTIVZ along with my colleague, Dr. Joseph Maroon. We're here today to discuss some of the latest research on the ACTIVZ ingredients. It's so good to be with you here today. Dr. Maroon and I have been the scientific advisors for ACTIVZ for a number of years. And Dr. Maroon, I have to rub it in a little bit. You missed the awards cruise that just was this summer with the top I think about 200 distributors for ACTIVZ. And it was a great cruise, and I was able to present some of our latest information on the microbiome primarily and the Lynx product. However, also reviewed both other products, the genomics as well, and the Optimen. And both of these products are really exciting. And one of the things that I think we wanted to start out with, Dr. Maroon, today is, why are we interested in this topic of nutraceuticals, and why is it so important, and what's so unique about ACTIVZ that really, as I say in this first line here, we both served on the GNC Scientific Advisory Board, and we really had access to some of the top minds in the country as far as what was going on in dietary supplements. And I think in a lot of ways, there's a very huge similarity between the cutting edge products that we have with ACTIVZ as well.
Well, absolutely, Jeff. And I am going to make the Cancun meeting, by the way. At least I hope to. And also I'm excited to discuss the innovations and the updates on various products that I think are so important that we consider taking on a daily basis, and that have been developed by ACTIVZ. And the various products have huge implications in terms of our overall health, and also some of the major diseases such as cancer as well as Alzheimer's disease that affect so many people in this country.
Well, I think that's absolutely true. And one of the biggest things that, we brought us to the table, so to speak, was the butyric acid found in the Lynx product. I mean, we had gone off sort of on a Quixotean quest to find a way to combat a very horrible disease that's not too uncommon and actually becoming more common, and that is a glioblastoma multiforme, which is a horribly malignant tumor and incurable. So people unfortunately die from this. And early on, Dr. Maroon, we both were profoundly disturbed by this tumor and looked at many ways to treat it. And it didn't seem like surgery and radiation and the typical ways were doing much. And the idea, we met a fellow out of Boston, and Dr. Maroon, you can address him here in a minute.
Sure.
But
absolutely.
he had a whole different idea on how to treat it. Go ahead, Dr. Maroon.
Yeah, Dr. Thomas Seyfried, Seyfried, Seyfried at Boston College, is a brilliant scientist who believes and has written many papers, as well as a superb book entitled The Metabolic Basis of Cancer. And his thesis is that cancer, for the large part, is much based on a metabolic principle in terms of how we utilize glucose and sugar, and rather than just genetics. It's clearly a combination of both. But his thesis is that cancers are primarily dependent on sugar or glucose for their metabolism. So that if we can prevent the uptake of sugar and reduce it, and a very effective way to do that is a ketogenic diet, as well as a couple of other chemicals to prevent the uptake of glutamate, which is an amino acid that also is converted to sugar. This may indeed, as it's shown experimentally in animals, reduce the incidence of cancer, and actually maybe, in fact, it is being used in conjunction with chemotherapeutic agents in the treatment of many patients with cancer now. That is a marked reduction in sugar, the ketogenic diet, with additional drugs that affect glutamate metabolism.
So just to review, the idea of ketogenic diet stimulates the production of a different pathway or a different energy pathway for cells. And one of those energy molecules that are used when in the absence of sugar is butyric acid. So when you put someone on a ketogenic diet, they actually change from a sugar-based energy consumption to a butyric acid-based energy consumption. And basically, when we heard that ACTIVZ had a product that could provide energy in the form of links and butyric acid, we immediately thought and met with David Brown and the team at ACTIVZ to really discuss the idea of utilizing it to change the metabolic energy of people with cancer. And we subsequently know that the idea of ketogenic diet has exploded for the use of weight loss and other healthy benefits. Mental health, there's now a huge study that showed ketogenic diet helps mental health, reduces depression and other mental health conditions. So the idea of changing the energy of the body away from sugar, and how butyric acid does that and provides energy in a different way. And of course, we've discussed it quite frequently, and we will discuss it in this lecture, how it benefits the colon and the gut by actually providing energy. But Dr. Maroon, this slide is really disturbing on what's going on with cancer in people. And it really is frightening to me relative to cancer of the colon. And I think there is a link between what our diet and what's happening in cancer, and especially in the colon.
Well, Jeff, I agree with you. And the disconcerting fact is that colon cancer, for instance, is now the most common cause of death among men under 50 in terms of cancer deaths, and the second leading cause of cancer death in women. So why is that? And there's an early onset increase of over 30% of colorectal cancers, and many other cancers have increased in incidence in those under age 50. So, what's going on, as you rhetorically asked?
And this sort of summarize, and I'll let you have the honor or the dishonor of really telling the story of sugar in our diet.
Yeah, it's really astounding when you think back a couple of hundred years ago. 1800, the average person consumed 18 pounds of sugar per year. Fast forward to 2009, and more than 50% of all Americans consumed 10 times as much, or 180 pounds of sugar per year. So what have we seen happen? Again, the link between diet, subsequent obesity, and then inflammation, which is a common genesis of so many diseases of aging as well as cancer, leading to colon cancer and other disabling diseases.
Yeah, and it really is a chain that is getting worse and worse. The idea of our diet, increased sugar, and especially the colon seeming to be very susceptible to the influx of our dietary change relative to sugar. So it's all sort of unfortunately adding up to a very bad problem. And this slide, Dr. Maroon, is somewhat complicated, but I think it's something that our folks can really understand if we go through it with them.
Yeah, no question about it. I mentioned inflammation. So what happens when you have excess sugar in your diet and how it affects your liver, your gut, your brain? Well, it leads to what's called oxidative stress. Oxidative stress occurs when there's a buildup of free radicals, which are usually squelched or quenched by antioxidants. And when the free radicals become excessive, they destroy DNA, proteins, and also mitochondria. And when that happens, there's subsequent angiogenesis, or the proliferation of new blood vessels, and cell proliferation, as well as cell death. And basically, all of this contributes, the inflammation contributes to DNA changes and subsequent mitoses in cells, and subsequent the development of malignancies, as well as cardiovascular problems with the lining of the vessels that supply our heart and our brain. So obesity and sugar equals a higher colon cancer risk, as well as a higher Alzheimer's risk and a higher cancer in other types of cancer risk.
And I think that the link of all this is the fact that it's altering our microbiome. That amount of sugar is either overstimulating or doing something that alters the microbiome that appears to enhance the environment for the growth of cancer. And so it stimulates the growth of new blood vessels and increases the rate of cancer spread. And we're seeing this statistically in our population. The higher and greater percentage of obesity, sugar consumption is now being reflected by increased colon cancer risk, altered microbiome, and a greater susceptible colon for cancer cells. So it's becoming a real epidemic here in most countries. So what we really, one of the reasons we put this slideshow together is really to discuss the importance of the microbiome. And one of the things that Dr. Maroon, obviously the group that I was speaking to was quite informed about all the interesting and important properties of the ACTIVZ products. But I asked rhetorically, did anyone know about the microbiome 10 years ago? I could ask probably 100 people and maybe only 5 of them would be able to say, oh, well, the microbiome's this and it's part of the gut and it's where the bacteria live in the colon. Today, it's a household word and everybody has learned how important microbiome is to some degree. And so we're hearing more and more about the thousands of microbiome species or bacteria in the gut, and how these are different in you and different in me, yet some are very similar. So those differences may mean something as far as our health and actually our longevity. There are over 150,000 times or 150 times more genes in the microbiome than in the human genomic. So really the diversity of that microbiome is beyond what our human body is made out of. So it really plays a key role in our health and our disease prevention. And how this is really a fascinating slide for all of us to maybe just even have as part of our when we discuss with other distributors or potential clients, how the microbiome just diversifies and its functions and actions and benefits go to all the organ systems. As you can see here, almost every organ system in the body, from the heart, the brain, the lungs, the reproductive system, or even our skin, has a link between the microbiome. And there's research studies for each of these, and it's sort of a good picture in the sense, but really, as far as what we're talking about today is the colon and the colon health.
And Jeff, I might add to that slide that the connections that you showed are all through primarily 2 mechanisms. Number one is the vagus, V-A-G-U-S nerve, which means wandering, the wandering nerve, which is the largest cranial nerve that connects the brain with all of the organ systems that are depicted on that chart. And then, so not just neural regulation be the vagus nerve, but there's also the immune reaction and the immune humoral mechanisms that connect the gut with all other organ systems and also the brain. So that there's bi-directional communication between the brain and the gut. The gut brain and the brain gut connection has become very important now, not just for cancer, but in mental health and so many other areas of medicine.
Such an important point. Thank you, Dr. Maroon. So we wanted to bring you 3 of the most recent studies, and there's literally hundreds of them out there. But the idea of benefits related to having a healthy microbiome, specifically aiding and benefiting the bacteria that produce butyric acid. And we obviously have a cheat in the sense that we can get butyric acid through the Lynx product, But overall, increasing the amount of butyric acid in the gut is very important. And one of the ways to do that, and all of you should know that, because it's really important to discuss whenever you discuss using links with anybody, the idea of also telling them the importance of your diet, specifically fiber in the diet, how bacteria in the gut live and feed on fiber in order to produce and divide and be healthy. And as they produce, the fiber is used and broken down by the microbiome into short chain fatty acids, one of which, as we know, is butyric acid. Only certain microbiome actually do this, but the butyric acid is used throughout the gut as an energy system. And so what's happened in the world? Well, there's been a huge decrease in the amount of fiber we consume. And so we're seeing that reflected in the microbiome of the gut. If the bacteria in the gut are not getting the food that they need, it's obviously not functioning properly. And we see some of the reasons why obesity, type 2 diabetes, and heart disease are all associated with decreased fiber consumption. So there's 2 studies that came out, and this just came out in 23, that showed that people who eat more fiber have a lower risk of Alzheimer's disease and all forms of dementia. Just eating fiber, Dr. Maroon. And I think for our audience who really, are colon and microbiome healthy, we always have to talk about fiber and the importance of fiber, and how in this study, just fiber itself was able to lower the forms of dementia like Alzheimer's disease. Any
Very
thoughts?
good points, Jeff. I just saw a paper yesterday on the link between the gut and the development of Alzheimer's disease, which goes exactly to the point you're making. And it also emphasizes, so what's changed in our diet? Processed foods. Most of the foods that you get, or we get, people make choices for, it's less expensive, more filling, but also less fiber because they're processed. And the fiber is removed, and the sugar, oftentimes sugar, salt, and fat are added, which are the things that our taste buds gravitate to. So I agree 100% with what you said.
It's an amazing study, very simple to do, but it really showed. So now we're going to talk about diabetes, one of the most common chronic diseases in the whole world, as far as its complications, amputations, kidney failure, all the complications that we see day in and day out in the medical field is related in some ways to the microbiome. This study showed that they took the bacteria, they looked at bacteria of people who had diabetes and people that didn't have diabetes and compared them. Well, as I said at the onset, the microbiome is significantly different in a lot of people, but this was specific to diabetics and non-diabetics. They found that diabetics generally had the lack of certain microbiome that may be contributing to their disease, or it may be caused by their disease. Specifically, people that had diabetes had microbiomes that had fewer bacteria that produced butyric acid. So this is a huge everybody knows someone who has diabetes, and someone who has diabetes should be concerned about the amount of butyric acid they're producing, because most likely they have a low level of butyric acid. Could possibly links be a benefit to them? It sounds like it. Could increased fiber be a benefit? Absolutely. So we need to think about this when we think about people that may benefit from these products, that diabetes and butyric acid are linked, lower levels of butyric acid producing bacteria. And so this study, I think, was profound in the sense that the lower amount of healthy bacteria in the colon actually causes a lack of insulin sensitivity, which means that the insulin is not utilized well by the cells, which means therefore the blood sugar is higher in the body, and higher blood sugar means more complications. Any thoughts on this, Dr. Maroon?
Well, I think you're exactly right, Jeff. It's 2 + 2 = diabetes.
Yeah. It really is an exciting study as well. And I think that this really, I think, goes back to the distributors. When you have conversations with potential other distributors or clients, it's important to discuss, them holistically. If you have these conditions, to think about it. And this one's a fun one, Dr. Maroon. If you could go over this with our audience, it really is.
I was very surprised. So, we hear of yogurt being good for you, but what's in yogurt? Well, yogurt is full of healthy bacteria. And remarkably to me, the FDA last month just released a claim that it's all right to claim that 2 cups or 3 servings of yogurt per week can lower your risk of having type 2 diabetes. That's pretty phenomenal. I mean, you're saying that more bacteria will lead to less diabetes. And it doesn't matter whether sugar is added or not, low fat or not, although I would take a little issue with that. I think that your kefir, Kefir, is something that I take every day. It doesn't have sugar in it and low fat, but clearly yogurt with the bacteria replenishes the microbiome, and particularly 2 of the bacteria, Lactobacillus acidophilus and Bifidobacterium bifidum, are both associated with the production of butyric acid, which is found in yogurt in that regard. So important.
Yeah. And it's amazing. And this is the federal government of the United States claiming this, relative to studies that have been done. So it really is important. So in summary, and we've had this slide before, but butyric acid directly increases the amount of energy in colon cells. That helps build a healthy microbiome, decreases inflammation, enhances vitamin absorption. It specifically can improve the amount of neurotransmitters for the brain, serotonin and dopamine being produced in the colon. And as you said, the pathway goes back and forth up through the vagus nerve, back up to the brain. It's the largest production of these neurotransmitters. And so it's important to remember the brain-gut connection. And it also benefits our immune system. So these are important parts to what we want to discuss today. We're going to shift base here a little bit and talk about Optimed quickly. But one of the things that I brought up on the cruise, Dr. Moon, is the fact that the vast majority of turmeric is not absorbed in the body. There's only a small amount of turmeric that's generally absorbed because it is broken down in the upper part of the intestinal tract. ACTIVZ products, Optimed, has a system where it encapsulates the turmeric, allows it to go into part of the intestine where it actually can be absorbed and be beneficial. 99% of the turmeric you consume and other supplements are not consumed in the part of the gut that can benefit from it. So this is a very important sales point, if you will, but it's also very important for people to realize, turmeric's good in our diet. There's no doubt about it, but you're only getting very little. And so any thoughts on this, Dr. Maroon?
Well, Jeff, that's exactly right. So basically what the cycloc and the dex key do, it protects the curcumin, the turmeric, so that it's not broken down by the acid of the stomach, but actually passes into the lower intestinal tract where it's eventually released and is able to be absorbed and utilized in the gut and in the large intestine and get absorbed. So a very important differential point that we all need to know.
Right. And so this is just summarizes the importance of silent inflammation. You can't feel it. You don't have the pain for it, but it's affecting the inside of our blood vessels. One of the biggest cause of atherosclerosis, or narrowing of the blood vessels, relating to subsequent heart attack, stroke, and then the other complications associated with that, including diabetes, joint pain, and degenerative diseases of the brain. All are silent. You don't feel them. So Optimed has the ability to lower inflammation and may benefit that as well. Genomics is a product, Dr. Maroon, I know is near and dear to our heart relative to its activation of the nerve factors. And can you just go over this briefly? I know our Distributors have a good handle on this, but just review what the effect is of activating the nerve transcription factor.
Yeah, there are three natural products that are combined in genomics: rosemary, gingerol, and luteolin. And these are all natural, but most significantly, they all increase a transcription factor called NRF2, which is, okay, what does that mean? And basically, what NRF2, it tells the DNA to increase the antioxidant enzyme gene production to produce more antioxidants. What's the significance of that? Earlier, I mentioned oxidative stress, where cells normally produce free radicals, which can be dangerous to DNA and cell membranes. Unless they are squelched by antioxidants, they become very destructive and harmful. Genomics activates a particular chemical moiety in the body called glutathione. And glutathione is the main antioxidant in the brain. And I become so interested in this because I've been working with Dr. Pravat Mandal, who is the former director of the Indian National Brain Institute. And we've done studies showing that in patients with Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease, there's a marked deficiency of glutathione in the brain, which is the major antioxidant to counter the oxidative stress produced by normal metabolism. So that any way we can raise glutathione levels in the body and subsequently the brain can have more than a theoretical basis for ameliorating, stopping, preventing Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, and other diseases of oxidative stress, even like ALS. These are all subject to oxidation and oxidative stress. So, whatever we can do to increase glutathione, and we're looking to do studies now actually to show various products that can increase glutathione to cross the blood-brain barrier to increase it in the brain.
Fascinating, Dr. Maroon. And, pulling together three nations, the United States, Australia, and India is really, quite an accomplishment. Here are some of the studies that Dr. Maroon and his colleagues have done and really have shown the benefits of glutathione and how they can actually measure glutathione in the brain to see the levels. And of interest is a recent study that showed glutathione levels dropped after you have anesthesia, which is something that we'll discuss another day. But it's the idea of having glutathione in our body and the benefit of increasing it through NRF2 is really so important, and it's an area that's going to continue to expand and place genomics in a great position. So, Dr. Maroon, we're run out of time as usual, but we're now just to summarize the idea of the life balance. We really have to think about the person as a whole, including their diet as well as their dietary supplements. The Link product, of course, being one of the linchpins for potentially increasing in the amount of benefits for our microbiome, producing butyric acid, both by benefiting the microbiome as well as producing it naturally and providing it naturally to the body. Optimed, reducing inflammation, and genomics, reducing oxidative stress in the way that it activates glutathione. So really what we're talking about is decreasing these stressors of inflammation, reducing the effect on our gut and oxidative stress. I'd really like to thank you, Dr. Maroon, and I'm sorry again you missed the cruise. It was a lot of fun, and those that were there, I'm sure, enjoyed it. And as you said, you'll be back in Cancun here shortly and have a face-to-face.
Well, thank you, Jeff. Excellent summary, and very, very important. Add exercise to this, and I think we have the optimum life balance that we all seek.
Thank you. Thank you all for listening. We're going to sign off for now, and we'll speak again.
Wow, that was great. I don't know about you, but I just got a special information that everyone who listened to that now gets 3 hours of credit at the University of Pittsburgh. Didn't that seem like you had just taken a class? I mean, it was a little bit more in depth than we usually go, but it was great. And when Dr. Maroon closes out by saying, I think that if you add exercise, yeah, and add to these other things, you have the optimum life balance. I think that's pretty good advice coming from an 83-year-old who still runs. And I think Colton probably knows this, but as he's preparing for this half marathon, Dr. Maroon has done Ironman triathlons a number of times. You're also in the presence of other marathoners like Claudina and Coco and others. So they'll give you all the advice that you need on that. And I think it's great. You might ask yourself, well, why do we have these doctors and these scientists? Why do we go into such detail? Are we trying to turn everybody into mini scientists and all this type of thing? And the answer is no. I mean, I think that information is interesting, isn't it? To hear that the products that we have, isn't it amazing that these are at the cutting edge of research that doctors around the world are studying and validating and providing more and more research and substantiation for the things that you're telling your friends and your family members about. That's pretty amazing. And it also is to provide comfort and reinforcement, those deep roots that Claudina was talking about. So that when people tell you, oh, there's nothing to those supplements, that's crazy, and it's just, lotions and potions, that's all you're talking about. And it's all just snake oil. You say, well, maybe I'll listen to this. Do these guys sound like they don't believe what they're talking about? They absolutely believe, and they know. And so again, it's just prior to Mother's Day, and I think that we can remember a little bit. If you went home from school and said the kids are teasing me, they're saying I'm stupid, or that what I'm doing is dumb, and what would a mom say? You're not dumb. You're not stupid. Don't listen to those people. Well, when people tell you, when you introduce them to ACTIVZ and our products, and they say, you're stupid, nobody makes any money at this, and those supplements, there's no science behind that. Just remember, Dr. Maroon would be like a mother saying, don't listen to them. They don't know what they're talking about. Why would you listen to somebody who has no information or no background on that? You got to listen to the right people. And mothers would do all the things that Dr. Maroon, Jeff Bose, Claudina, and Karen talked about today, right? They share things that they have with their children and with others. They teach, they correct, they work hard, and they tell us, work hard and don't give up and keep going. And they'll also tell you to associate with the right people. How many times did your mom say, be careful who you make friends with, right? And that goes with business and your other activities as well. And so that's one thing that I think here at ACTIVZ, we really strive to do. Yeah, the products are real. The compensation plan and the business opportunity is real. But just as real, and maybe probably more important, are the people you get to associate with, the people that you can call friends and family. And so if your mom was here, and I lost my mom a couple of years ago, but I would have no problem telling her that I'm pretty happy with the people that I hang out with, and it's all of you. And what we're engaged in is a pretty important work. So you got to listen. Both Karen and Claudina talked about the success guide. Do you know, if somebody told me that I could go out about 5 minutes from my house and get on a freeway called Interstate 15, and they say, you could take that, and if you have friends in Tijuana, Mexico, you could drive there all the way, and it's easy. All you got to do is get on that freeway and drive. And as you do so, you're going to pass through some really interesting country. And it's going to be very deserty at times, and you're going to pass through cities, and you say, oh, great. Okay, well, how do I do that? And if they said to you, well, what you got to do is you got to get on Interstate 15 and drive north. I say, okay, that sounds easy. And so you get on, and you're starting to drive. You've driven a couple hours, and you're like, I don't see any desert. I see mountains, and I pass through this state called Idaho. I don't really remember them mentioning anything about Idaho. And so you get out, you pull over, you call them and you call them up, and you say, wait a minute, I'm driving and I'm following your directions, but I'm in Idaho. And they say, hey, wait a minute, you're being lazy. You need to work harder. So you say, okay. So you get back on the road and you start driving again, and now you drive you got to drive twice as fast. You want to work harder, so you're going to drive twice as fast. And now you get more and more into the mountains, and you're passing some really cool scenery. And now you're in Montana, and you're thinking, you know what? I don't think I'm where I'm supposed to be. And so now you call them up and say, you know what? I followed your directions. You said to drive north to get to Tijuana, and I'm working harder. And they say, oh, you know, you've just got a bad attitude about this. You got to have a positive attitude if you're going to get to Mexico. So say, okay, I guess I just have got to have a better attitude about this. So you hop back in your car, you start driving. You're still going the wrong way, okay? But you don't feel quite as bad about it because you had a positive attitude now. So it's like, okay, whatever. So the moral of the story is working hard isn't always enough. Having a good attitude isn't always enough. You got to have the right map. You got to have the right directions, okay? And the simple mistake of telling me to drive north instead of telling me to drive south was all it took, all right? And so we're providing the right directions in the success guide that both Claudina and Karen referred to. We're providing the right directions when we're talking about how to live a healthier lifestyle with the instructions that Dr. Maroon and Dr. Bost gave. And so you can listen to other people, but I doubt that they have been successful in the business that we're talking about. You can listen to other people, but I doubt that they have the scientific background and medical training of the people that we've just listened to. So I suggest, if you're going to listen to anybody, listen to those people who know what they're talking about and who care about your future and who care about you succeeding. And if you do that, you're going to say, oh, I know who those people are. They're my friends at ACTIVZ. And you'll be back to where you're supposed to be in the first place. And so we're glad to have you all here with us today. We hope you have a wonderful Mother's Day. This has been a great kickoff to the weekend. Thank you, Claudina. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Dr. Maroon. Thank you, Professor Bost. And I'll turn it back to, I think we're going back to Colton. Are you up?
Or we can turn it over to Stu. If you want to close it out. Oh, you want me to do it? It's all good. Thank you, everyone, so much for joining us today on this ACTIVZ School. Again, thank you to all of our presenters. Thank you, Dave, for wrapping everything up here. And let's get after it. We're having an absolutely incredible month of May. Again, as your sales team, as your team here at ACTIVZ, your corporate team, our success is your success. So if there's anything that we can do for you at all, please do not hesitate to reach out to us and let us know. And we're excited to see the amazing things that you do this month, in the month of May. Let's go ahead and let's get it. Thank you so much, everyone. Have an incredible weekend. Happy Mother's Day. And we'll see you.
We're going to do our quick little names. So I'm going to stop the recording and we're going to